Welcome back to the Destinations with Sal and Debbie channel. Today we're going to talk about 23-year-old Amy Lynn Bradley, who disappeared from the Royal Caribbean cruise ship, Rhapsody of the Seas, in the early morning hours of March 24, 1998. New information has come that may prove that Amy is still alive. We'll be back to go over the entire story right after this. Welcome back and thanks for staying through the intro. Before we begin, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel, as well as click the like button and share on your own social media. It's totally free and sure, makes a huge difference for our channel. Now, let's talk about Amy. The vast deep blue of the Caribbean Sea holds countless secrets. For most, it is a backdrop for paradise, a place of sun-drenched days and tranquil nights. But for one family, its endless horizon represents a void. It marks the spot where their world was fractured forever. We are talking about the disappearance of Amy Lynn Bradley. In 1998, she was a bright, vibrant 23-year-old from Virginia. She had a new job, a new apartment, and a life full of promise. To celebrate, she joined her parents, Ron and Iva, and her brother Brad, for a family cruise. It was meant to be a week of joy and relaxation. Instead, it became the starting point of a mystery that has now spanned more than a quarter of a century, leaving a trail of unanswered questions and a family locked in a relentless search for the truth. Amy was an experienced traveler and a certified lifeguard. She was sensible, responsible, and deeply connected to her family. The idea that she would simply wander off or have a tragic accident without a trace seemed impossible to those who knew her best. She was not a reckless person. She was someone who looked out for others, someone grounded and aware of her surroundings. Her disappearance from the Royal Caribbean cruise ship, Rhapsody of the Seas, in the early morning hours of March 24, 1998, defied all logic. One moment she was there, sharing a dance with her brother and enjoying the ship's lively atmosphere. The next, she was gone, vanishing from a contained environment surrounded by miles of open water. The silence she left behind has been deafening ever since. For over 27 years, the name Amy Bradley has been synonymous with one of the most chilling unsolved mysteries at sea. Her story is a stark reminder that even in places designed for escape and leisure, the unthinkable can happen. It is a tale that has been whispered among cruise ship crews and passengers for decades. A cautionary narrative about the hidden dangers that can lurk just beneath the surface of a perfect vacation. The case is filled with perplexing clues, potential sightings, and a persistent belief held by her family that Amy did not fall overboard. They are convinced she was targeted, taken, and forced into a life she never chose. Their fight for answers has never waned, fueled by a love that refuses to let her memory fade into the ocean's depths. This is not just a cold case file gathering dust in an archive. It is a living, breathing story of loss and hope. It is the story of a family's promise to their daughter and sister that they will never, ever stop looking for her. Today, in 2025, that promise feels more vital than ever. New developments have reignited public interest, bringing the haunting image of Amy Bradley back into the spotlight. Her face, frozen in time from photographs taken just before she disappeared, now looks out at a new generation. They are asking the same questions her family has been asking for nearly 3 decades. What happened to Amy Bradley? And after all these years, is it finally possible to bring her home? The search for those answers continues, as urgent today as it was on that fateful morning in 1998. The Bradley family boarded the Rhapsody of the Seas with excitement and anticipation. It was March 1998, and the week-long Caribbean cruise promised a much-needed escape. For Amy, it was a chance to decompress and celebrate her recent accomplishments before starting a new chapter in her life. The first few days unfolded just as planned. There were family dinners, laughter, and sunny afternoons on the deck. Amy, an avid basketball player and a strong swimmer, was in her element. She and her brother Brad were inseparable, exploring the massive ship and enjoying its many amenities. On the night of March 23rd, the ship hosted a lively party. Amy and Brad danced, socialized, and took in the vibrant nightlife that is a hallmark of the cruise experience. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. It was a perfect vacation night. As the evening wound down, the family returned to their suite. Amy and Brad stayed on the cabin's private balcony for a while, talking under the stars as the ship sailed through the calm waters between Aruba and Curaçao. Around 5:15 a.m., Amy's father, Ron, saw her sleeping on the balcony lounge chair. He spoke to her briefly and she told him she was fine, just enjoying the quiet morning air before heading back to sleep. This was the last confirmed sighting of Amy by her family. When Ron woke again around 6 o'clock a.m., Amy was gone. Her sandals were still on the balcony and her cigarettes and lighter were left behind in the room. She had taken nothing with her. A sense of unease quickly set in, but at first, the family thought she might have gone to get a coffee or watch the sunrise from another deck. That initial hope soon turned to panic. Brad and his parents began a frantic search of the ship's public areas. They checked the lounges, the pools, the photo gallery, and every deck they could access. There was no sign of Amy. They immediately alerted the ship's crew, expecting a swift and thorough response. However, they felt their concerns were not taken seriously at first. The family has stated that the crew was slow to react, initially resisting their request to make a ship-wide announcement. They pleaded with the captain not to dock in Curacao until a full search of the vessel could be completed, fearing that if Amy had been taken, docking would allow her abductors to disappear into the port city. Their pleas were ignored. The ship docked as scheduled, and thousands of passengers disembarked. The window of opportunity to find Amy aboard the ship was closing fast. By the time a comprehensive search was finally initiated, precious hours had been lost. The ship's staff conducted a search of passenger cabins, but it was too little, too late. The Bradleys felt a profound sense of helplessness as the bustling port of Willemstad, Curacao, came into view. In their minds, the ship had transformed from a floating resort into a potential crime scene, and the open gangway represented a point of no return. The dream vacation had irrevocably descended into a living nightmare. The family was now stranded in a foreign country, their daughter was missing, and they were left with the terrifying realization that they might never know what happened in those crucial early morning hours. From the very beginning, the Bradley family has rejected the two most common theories proposed by authorities and the cruise line, that Amy fell overboard or took her own life. To them, these explanations are not just improbable, they are impossible. Amy was a trained lifeguard and a strong, confident swimmer. Her family insists that even if she had accidentally fallen from the balcony, it is highly unlikely she would have vanished without a trace. The sea was calm that night, and as a powerful swimmer, she would have been able to stay afloat for a considerable time. Furthermore, there was no emotional turmoil or reason for her to harm herself. She was happy, looking forward to her future, and had everything to live for. The idea of suicide was completely out of character. Instead, Ron, Iva, and Brad Bradley have held a different, more sinister belief for 27 years. They are convinced that Amy was targeted by individuals on the ship, abducted, and sold into human trafficking. This belief isn't just based on a gut feeling, it is rooted in a series of unsettling interactions and observations they made during the cruise. Amy had mentioned to her family that some of the crew members were paying her an uncomfortable amount of attention, making her feel uneasy. Her brother, Brad, later recalled a specific waiter who seemed overly friendly, asking Amy to join him for drinks in a bar in Curacao. These were not casual, friendly exchanges. They felt predatory and calculated, and they left the family with a lingering sense of dread long before Amy ever disappeared. This theory of abduction gained more weight when the family considered the logistics of the ship. Disappearing from a cruise ship is not easy. It's a closed environment with security cameras and thousands of potential witnesses. For someone to vanish so completely suggests a deliberate and well-planned act. The family believes that whoever took Amy knew the ship's layout, knew how to avoid detection, and likely had assistance. The refusal to delay docking in Curacao only strengthened their suspicion. It provided the perfect opportunity for someone to take Amy off the ship and disappear into the crowded streets of a foreign port, making recovery exponentially more difficult. For the Bradleys, this timeline of events points directly to a criminal conspiracy, not a tragic accident. Over the years, this conviction has only deepened, bolstered by several unconfirmed but compelling sightings reported in the Caribbean. One of the most famous was from a tourist in Curacao who claimed to have seen a woman closely resembling Amy on a beach a few years after her disappearance. He said she appeared to be under duress, accompanied by two men who seemed to be controlling her. More disturbingly, there was a report from a U.S. Navy sailor who claimed he saw a woman he believed was Amy in a brothel in the Caribbean. She allegedly told him her name was Amy Bradley and begged for help before being taken away. While these sightings have never been officially verified, they have fueled the family's hope that Amy is still alive and affirmed their belief that she is a victim of trafficking waiting to be rescued. For decades, the story of Amy Bradley was kept alive primarily through the tireless efforts of her family and occasional media coverage. But in the summer of 2025, everything changed. The streaming giant Netflix released a new documentary series titled Amy Bradley is Missing, thrusting the case back into the global consciousness with unprecedented force. The documentary meticulously recounted the events of March 1998, featuring heart-wrenching interviews with Ron, Iva, and Brad Bradley. It presented the family's theory of abduction with fresh clarity and urgency, exposing the case to millions of viewers who had never heard of Amy before. The effect was immediate and powerful. The cold case was suddenly hot again, and a new generation became invested in the search for answers. The release of the documentary was like opening a floodgate. Suddenly, tips and potential leads began pouring into the FBI and the Bradley family's dedicated tip line. Her brother Brad, confirmed in an interview on August 7, 2025, that the response had been overwhelming. He spoke of credible leads that were being actively investigated, though he was careful not to provide specific details to protect the integrity of the ongoing inquiry. This surge of new information has brought with it a renewed sense of optimism that the family hasn't felt in years. After so many dead ends and so much time passed, the possibility that a crucial piece of the puzzle might finally be within reach feels like a miracle. The documentary has effectively deputized millions of viewers into becoming digital detectives, all scanning their memories and sharing the story in hopes of a breakthrough. This phenomenon, often called the Netflix effect, has proven to be a game changer for many unsolved cases. By presenting the facts in a compelling, narrative-driven format, these documentaries can evoke a powerful emotional response from the public. Viewers are no longer passive consumers of news. They become active participants in the search for justice. In Amy's case, the series highlighted the strange events on the ship, the family's suspicions about certain crew members, and the tantalizing but unverified sightings over the years. This has prompted people from all over the world, particularly those who may have been on that same cruise or traveled in the Caribbean in the late 1990s, to re-examine their memories and photographs from that time. For the Bradley family, this renewed attention is a double-edged sword. It brings hope, but it also resurfaces the immense pain of their loss. Every interview, every article, every social media post is a reminder of the life that was stolen from them. Yet, they continue to engage with the public, driven by the unwavering belief that Amy is still out there. The Netflix documentary has given them a platform they could only have dreamed of 27 years ago. It has validated their long-held belief that Amy's story was not just a tragic accident, but a criminal act that deserves a full and transparent investigation. Now, with the world watching, there is a palpable sense that the truth, which has remained hidden for so long, might finally be ready to surface from the depths. The mystery of Amy Bradley's disappearance is deepened by a series of strange and unsettling events that occurred both during and immediately after the cruise. These incidents honestly go beyond mere coincidence and suggest that something was deeply wrong aboard the. One of the most troubling aspects, as recounted by her brother Brad, involved the ship's band, Blue Orchid. Amy had spent time with some of the band members, particularly the bassist, Alistair Douglas, who was known as Yellow. Brad remembers seeing Amy with Yellow late on the night she vanished. When the family later tried to question him, they felt his answers were evasive and unhelpful. The entire band seemed to close ranks, offering little information about their interactions with Amy that night. This wasn't the only interaction that raised red flags. The family has spoken about the persistent and unwanted attention Amy received from several crew members. They describe it as more than just friendly banter. It felt targeted and predatory. This feeling was so strong that Amy's father had even mentioned it to her, noting that certain staff seemed to be shadowing her. In the context of her disappearance, these interactions take on a sinister meaning. The family believes these individuals may have been sizing her up, identifying her as a potential target for abduction. The cruise ship, designed as a sanctuary of fun and relaxation, had begun to feel like a hunting ground, and Amy, unknowingly, may have been the prey. The response from the cruise line in the immediate aftermath also struck the family as peculiar and insufficient. Their initial pleas to stop the ship from docking in Curaçao were dismissed. They felt that the ship's command was more concerned with maintaining its schedule and avoiding negative publicity than with the welfare of a missing passenger. This perceived indifference fueled their suspicions that there might have been an effort to contain the situation and minimize the company's liability. The family believes that a full lockdown of the ship before docking could have been the key to solving the case. Instead, the gangway was lowered, and any potential evidence or suspects were allowed to melt away into the bustling port city, making the search infinitely more complex. Perhaps one of the most bizarre events occurred after the family had raised the alarm. Brad Bradley recalls being approached by two men on the ship who began questioning him about the timeline of his sister's disappearance. At the time, he thought they were simply concerned passengers. In hindsight, however, he suspects their motives were far more nefarious. He now believes they may have been trying to get their stories straight, to establish an alibi, or to gauge what the family knew. This encounter, viewed through the lens of 27 years of searching, seems less like a gesture of sympathy and more like a clumsy attempt at intelligence gathering by individuals who had something to hide. These strange happenings created a tapestry of suspicion that continues to haunt the family to this day. Among the many puzzling elements of the Amy Bradley case, the mystery of the missing photographs stands out as particularly chilling. It suggests a level of planning and calculation that points away from a simple accident. During the cruise, the ship's photographers took numerous pictures of the passengers at various events, including a formal dinner night. The Bradley family, like many others, posed for these professional portraits. Amy was in several of the photos, smiling alongside her parents and brother. These images were displayed in the ship's photo gallery for passengers to view and purchase. After Amy vanished, her family went to the gallery to retrieve these last captured memories of their daughter. To their horror, they discovered that every single photograph featuring Amy had been removed. The disappearance of these specific photos was a devastating blow. It was as if someone was deliberately trying to erase Amy's presence from the ship. The family believes this was not a random act. They are convinced that the person or people responsible for Amy's abduction systematically went through the gallery and took every image of her. Why would they do this? The most logical and terrifying reason is that they wanted to prevent her face from being easily identified. By removing the photos, they made it harder for the family and authorities to circulate a recent high-quality image of Amy to the public and to officials in Curacao. It was a calculated move to buy time and hinder the immediate search efforts. This act of erasing Amy's image from the official record of the cruise adds a layer of premeditation to the crime. It implies that her abductors were not acting on a spontaneous impulse. Instead, they were thinking ahead, taking steps to cover their tracks and control the narrative. This level of foresight is inconsistent with the profile of a panicked individual trying to conceal an accidental death. It aligns perfectly with the family's theory of a well-organized abduction plot, likely involving individuals who were familiar with the ship's operations and knew exactly where to find and how to remove the photographs without drawing attention. The empty slots in the photo display board became a silent testament to a carefully executed crime. The missing photographs also had a profound psychological impact on the Bradley family. It was a cruel and intentional act that robbed them of precious last mementos. In the midst of their frantic search, this discovery felt like a direct message from the culprits, a taunt that demonstrated their control over the situation. It reinforced the family's feeling that they were up against a sophisticated and ruthless adversary. For investigators, it presented a significant challenge, limiting the resources they had to work with in the critical first 48 hours. The mystery of the missing photos remains one of the most compelling pieces of evidence supporting the theory that Amy Bradley did not just disappear, she was made to disappear. As years turned into a decade with no definitive answers, the Bradley family faced a heartbreaking legal reality. In 2010, 12 years after she vanished from the Rhapsody of the Seas, Amy Lynn Bradley was legally declared dead in absentia by a Virginia court. This is a standard legal procedure in long-term missing persons cases, allowing families to settle estates and manage legal affairs. For the Bradleys, however, it was a devastating formality. It was a piece of paper that stood in stark contrast to their deeply held belief that Amy was still alive somewhere, waiting to be found. Agreeing to the declaration was an agonizing decision, but it was a necessary step in a journey that had been filled with impossible choices. It did not, however, signify an end to their search. Despite the legal declaration, the official investigation into Amy's disappearance has never been closed. The Federal Bureau of Investigation continues to list Amy Bradley as a missing person, and her case remains open and active. This is a crucial distinction. It means that law enforcement still considers her disappearance to be an unsolved potential crime, not a closed chapter. The FBI maintains a public profile for Amy, complete with age-progressed photos showing what she might look like today. They are also offering a substantial reward of $25,000 for any information that leads directly to her recovery or to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for her disappearance. This ongoing federal involvement underscores the seriousness with which the case is still viewed. The reward offered by the FBI is supplemented by a separate, much larger reward offered by the Bradley family themselves. They have put up $250,000 of their own money for information that brings Amy home. This significant sum speaks volumes about their desperation and their unwavering commitment. For them, no price is too high for the chance to find out what happened to their daughter. They have spent their life savings, traveled the world following potential leads, and dedicated their lives to being Amy's advocates. Their resilience in the face of unimaginable grief is a powerful force that has kept the case from fading into obscurity, even when official channels seem to run cold. The dual status of Amy's case, legally deceased yet actively investigated, creates a strange and painful limbo for her family. They live with the knowledge that the world has officially moved on, yet they cannot. They continue to operate on the hope that one day a tip will come in that breaks the case wide open. They imagine a future where Amy is returned to them, a scenario that the legal system has already dismissed. This painful paradox is the reality for many families of the long-term missing. They are caught between the cold, hard facts of the law and the enduring hope of the human heart. For the Bradleys, the fight is far from over. As long as the case remains open, there is still a chance for justice and, most importantly, a chance for answers. The story of Amy Bradley resonates deeply within the community of cruise enthusiasts and frequent travelers for one simple reason. It shatters the illusion of safety. A cruise ship is often marketed as a floating city, a self-contained bubble of security and carefree enjoyment. Passengers entrust their safety to the cruise line, assuming that they are protected from the dangers of the outside world. Amy's disappearance from the middle of the ocean strikes at the very heart of that assumption. It raises the terrifying question: if you are not safe on a locked and monitored vessel, then where are you safe? Her case serves as a permanent, chilling reminder that vulnerability doesn't disappear just because you are on vacation. For cruise fans, who often spend hours on forums and social media discussing every aspect of their voyages, unsolved mysteries at sea are a topic of endless fascination and concern. Cases like Amy's are dissected and debated, not out of morbid curiosity, but out of a genuine desire to understand the risks. They question the adequacy of security protocols, the training of crew members, and the transparency of cruise lines when incidents occur. The Bradley family's claims of a slow and dismissive initial response from the ship's crew are particularly alarming to passengers who place their trust in that same crew. It forces them to consider what would happen if they or their loved ones were to find themselves in a similar situation. The Bradley case also highlights a perceived lack of accountability and jurisdiction on the high seas. When a crime occurs in international waters, it can create a complex web of legal challenges. Which countries' laws apply? Who is responsible for the investigation? This ambiguity can lead to delays and confusion, as was evident in the initial hours of Amy's disappearance. For cruise passengers, this gray area of maritime law is unsettling. It suggests that if something goes wrong, getting help and justice might not be as straightforward as it would be on land. The industry has made significant safety improvements since 1998, including the installation of more advanced surveillance systems and man-overboard detection technology, but the specter of cases like Amy's continues to loom large. Ultimately, the enduring legacy of the Amy Bradley case within the cruise community is a call for greater transparency and vigilance. It has made passengers more aware of their surroundings and more likely to report suspicious activity. It has put pressure on the cruise industry to be more forthcoming about safety incidents and to continuously improve their security measures. While cruise ships remain one of the statistically safest forms of travel, Amy's story is a powerful narrative that transcends statistics. It speaks to a primal fear of the unknown and the loss of control. It reminds every person who steps onto a gangway that paradise can have a dark side, and that the search for answers in the deep blue sea is a journey that never truly ends. Today, the search for Amy Bradley is more active than it has been in years. The global attention from the new Netflix documentary has breathed new life into a case that many feared had gone cold forever. For her family, this resurgence of interest is the answer to decades of prayer. Her brother Brad continues to be the public face of the search, speaking to the media with a mixture of exhaustion and renewed determination. He, along with his parents, has never given up hope that one day they will receive the call that changes everything. They believe Amy is alive, and they are committed to doing whatever it takes to bring her home. Their strength is a testament to the enduring power of family love. The new leads that have been generated are currently being vetted by the FBI and private investigators working with the family. While the details remain confidential, the sheer volume of tips offers a statistical probability that a crucial piece of information may be hidden within them. Someone, somewhere knows what happened to Amy. Perhaps it's a former crew member who was afraid to speak up at the time. Perhaps it's a tourist who saw something in Curaçao and didn't realize its significance until now. Or perhaps it is someone who has direct knowledge of where Amy has been for the last 27 years. The family's plea is simple. It is never too late to do the right thing. The official channels for reporting information remain open and are more important than ever. The FBI continues to publicly request that anyone with information, no matter how insignificant it may seem, contact their local office or the nearest American embassy or consulate. The combined reward of $275,000 from the FBI and the Bradley family provides a powerful incentive for someone to break their silence. Every share on social media, every conversation about the case, and every person who watches the documentary helps keep Amy's story alive. This collective awareness creates an environment where it becomes increasingly difficult for those with knowledge to keep their secrets buried. The story of Amy Bradley is ultimately a story of hope against impossible odds. It is a testament to a family's refusal to accept silence as an answer. As her age-progressed photos circulate online, we are reminded that somewhere out there could be a 50-year-old woman who has spent more than half her life waiting for rescue. The search for Amy is a search for all victims of unsolved crimes, a fight for the principle that no one should simply vanish without a trace. The question that has haunted her family and the public for 27 years remains, where is Amy Bradley? With renewed hope and the world's attention, perhaps 2025 will finally be the year we get an answer. The search and the hope continues. And that's it for today. If you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. See you next time.